Boom. All right, guys. Welcome to the Friday Mastermind in Trust Engine Mortgage Coach land. This is mastermind style. So I want to remind everybody who's watching this, the more questions you ask in chat, actually, the funner it is for everyone. I think the community gets more value. And I can tell you, speaking personally, it's always the most fun for me. So please share comments, ideas. Also, the little reactions at the bottom. I can tell you when someone gives a little heart, like we know we're doing the right thing. When someone gives it a little applause, that's kind of cool. And I want everybody to do the little thumbs up, like how to use that. Like use that feature in the bottom corner. So what's up, Mr. Bookspan?
Anytime I get to hang out with not just you and Jonathan Roche as well is a great Friday, a great day for any day of the week. And I'm just so grateful for you and for this community and the fact that we get to come together at least once a week and, really sharpen each other and sharpen the community. So excited to be here and excited for our coach, Jonathan Roche. What's up, Jonathan?
What's up, Mr.
Great
Roche?
to see you guys. Yeah, awesome, Dave. Awesome, Todd. Fired up to connect, serve, equip, tools, strategies, shift in mindset. Obviously, the industry, it's been a little crazy, but it's all good. We never receive anything we can't handle. And I think a lot of people have revealed a lot of character attributes that wouldn't have been revealed in calm water. So as much as it has not been a blast for your industry, the hidden gift of it is this expediting of growth. Whether you're kicking and screaming while you're growing is another thing, but I think it's just been tremendous to witness. I'm like in the front row watching the two of you and all these other rock stars in your space execute and figure it out. And that's something both of you and your entire industry should be proud of.
Yeah, well, thank you, Jonathan. So I think most people in this community know Jonathan's backstory and, his resume to be a high performance coach. He is a personal coach to both myself and Todd Bookspan. A number of America's top mortgage professionals coach with Jonathan. Jonathan, is it 36 consecutive Boston marathons or 37?
I need to have you
47. 47.
It's 28. I love it. It's
that's right.
Friend,
I'm sorry.
Right? He's done 60 straight. He's like, I don't think the math's right. How old is that dude? Anyway, it's 28, but go ahead.
Oh yeah. Well, sorry about that. And I should remember that because I introduced you at the mastermind summit and you gave me a new data point. I'll probably get it wrong, but it's like only 112 people have done 25 consecutive Boston marathons. Did I get that close to right?
Yeah, close to right. So like 126, but yeah, I think it's that consistent streak. But again, applying, not trying to ditch you giving me credit and tell, look at his background, but just to jump right into how we serve for the mortgage professionals. And I talked about this at Mastermind. You guys are an endurance event. You didn't sign up for it. You're getting stuck in the evolving market Ironman. And so I'm fired up today to really get into the tools and strategies to figure out, all right, how are you going to get to the finish line? And so I didn't mean to cut you off, Dave, when you're giving me credit on his background and he's doing this, but I'm more excited how we're going to serve, how we're going to equip these guys, because I'll just be candid with you guys. My intent today when hanging out with Todd and Dave isn't to motivate. If you want motivation, you go on YouTube where this is tools, strategies, so that today you're in an actionable state to elevate.
Cool. So I could go on about that, but I think most of you know it. And I think that's enough to say, hey, this is a guy I should listen to. I picked this topic in this headline because usually when I interview or Jonathan's a guest, he comes in with like a talk track. Like he knows the headline, he picked it. He has a very specific lesson he wants to bring to everyone. Today I picked the topic and I picked the topic, for a bunch of reasons, but one of them was at this mastermind event. I can't remember who the speaker was, but there was a time where someone from the audience asked everyone in the audience, who in the audience is not feeling confident, or who in the audience, I can't remember, it was like confident or feel a little down. And I literally thought that less than 20% of the audience would raise their hand. It was like one of those questions where like, hey, this is a bunch of ballers that are just getting after it and fired up. And no, 80% of the audience raised their hand like, I'm down. I'm I've lost my edge. I've lost my confidence. I'm scared. And I was like, you know what? I interview enough badass professionals that are really pumped, that are like, they are the best. Like, I know the number one loan officer in America. So does Jonathan. And there could be only one. And there is a number one loan officer in every state in the United States. There is a number one loan officer in every company in the mortgage industry. There is a number one loan officer in every region of every mortgage company. There's a number one loan officer in every branch. And here's the deal. Everyone on this call doesn't necessarily want to be number one in your branch or in your state or in your region or in your company. Like, that's not everyone's goal. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a call around the mentality, the habits of people that want to be the best. And then I'll leave it to you on this call. We'll talk a little bit in the first 15 minutes. Like, what do you want to be? Like, what are your goals? What are you striving for? And so for, the first third to half of this call, we're going to talk about kind of defining that for yourself, high level. What are the pillars and what are the strategies to be the best? And then on the second half of the call, we're just going to get into tactics, and all three of us are going to share, pillars. All three of us are going to share tactics. And then hopefully everyone during this call, you will ask us questions, and you will also fill in the gaps. Like, as we share what we think's the key pillars and the key tactics, feel free to kind of like throw in your 2 cents in chat. And if you're watching this in YouTube, I would love for this YouTube show get thousands of views and have like all-time record number of comments and questions down below. So with that said, Todd, anything you want to say to frame it before we just start getting after it here?
Well, I love the fact that you talk about acknowledge that the industry overall is feeling a little down. And Jonathan, you use the word crazy, and I don't, it's funny. I don't love the word crazy because of the negative connotation. It was interesting. I've been using the word strange, so I would love, your thought on that. But I do think it comes down to the fact that we all know we probably need to do something different. And so I think that when we go through this journey with Jonathan and his ideas on these actionable, we got to get an actionable to elevate our state, I think is going to be great. I think the tools and tactics and strategies, I'm ready to listen. So let's rock and roll, Jonathan.
Yeah, I'll just jump in real quick, Dave, if you don't mind. When I think in terms of crazy, and I'm not trying to dodge around what you said, but crazy can be beautiful. That means it's evolving. That, like, if you're an athlete, if you're a competitor, you love crazy. And the reason you love it, I believe, is that your competitors are going to freak out. Like, if you look at top level athletes, they don't mind, like the PGA guys, they don't mind high winds. They don't mind the rain delay. They don't mind, the NFL guys, they don't mind going to Green Bay because they know a lot of people in the locker room are like, oh my gosh, 2 degrees, really? Great. But I would invite all of you. Dave already raised the bar. Like, this is for people who want to be number one.
No. It's not for people who want to be. I don't care where you want to be. We're gonna share like tactics and strategies to be the best. But I mean, everyone can kind of like make their edit be your best. But we're gonna drive that. But we're not gonna try to brainwash people into wanting to be the best. Like, that's not what this call is. To like try to get you to elevate your goals or get you to elevate what you want to achieve as a mortgage professional. That's up to you. But we're gonna just share like the best, what they're doing, and then and I would love for everyone to just kind of write this down whenever it comes into your mind on a piece of paper. If it's when I started the business, my first big goal was I wanted to be the best one in this little mortgage brokerage called Excalibur Mortgage. They had like 8 loan officers, and I was the new guy, and I wanted to be number one. Yeah. And somewhere along the line, you know what? I want to be the best in Orange County. And I actually never really in my career as a mortgage professional wanted to be the number one loan officer in America. That never, like, that's my goal. My goal was to be on the top 100 list. Like, and I wanted to be in the top 20 like that. I mean, I never like, I want to be number one loan officer in the country. No. And my goal was, I want to do $50 million in volume. Like I heard Greg Frost did it. By the way, for all you guys, like 50 million in production used to be like what 200 to 300 is now, in scale. Like that was, there was only one dude doing 50 million, Greg Frost out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I'm like, and I didn't want to beat Greg. I just wanted to be in that $50 million club, and I got there. So I want you to write down, what are you shooting for? Is it a dollar amount? Is it a best in? Write that down. So let's do this, guys. I'm going to ask the questions and moderate. I'm going to go to you first, Jonathan. And I'm hoping that what we talk about is going to make a good article that we can put on LinkedIn. Like we'll make an article out of this. So if there was, let's just try to shoot for like 3 to 5 pillars. And Jonathan, give as many as you want. Like, let's go pillars, and then we'll go high level strategies, and then we'll close out with tactics. If there were 3 to 5 pillars to be number one, what are they in your mind? And then I'm coming to you, Todd.
Number one is mindset. You cannot win externally until you win internally. So until you win this, it's going to be hit or miss in the marketplace. So you've got to learn to dominate your mindset, your own inner conversation. And that for me would be the main pillar. The second pillar would be the optimizing of your habits. People that dabble in habits, dabble in results. And I'm blessed with the professional athletes I coach and rock star entrepreneurs and executives like the two of you. We got to define the habits and then take consistent, inspired action on the habits. So I think it's mindset and then it's habits. And I know you're like, that's it? That's all he has? Well, we're starting with that, but I'll just throw those two out as being imperative. And then I'll throw a third one in, which is standards. And you go, what do you mean by that? We need to have some standards, defined standards. Like this one's going to be blunt, just to give you guys a heads up. You might want to put your seatbelt on here. Don't stick your family with your B game because you're in the evolving market Ironman. That's for non-world-class people. You go, that sounds blunt. I'm just saying it. Like if you're doing the work on the mindset and on the habits, then there's enough in the bucket where you can gift your family, your little cutie daughter or your wife or your partner, whoever you hang out with, your A game, and you can go gift that to your teammates, to your real estate professional partners and the families you're blessed to serve. There's enough to go around if you pay the fees. And I don't mean your hard-earned capital, some of which you do deploy. My language on fees when I'm coaching anyone, including you guys right now, is time, energy, focus, and follow through. If you pay the fees, then you can have high standards for how you want to show up. So those are my 3. And then I want to hear Todd's and yours, Dave, as well. But mindset, habits, standards.
All right. And if someone could be a community note taker, and if you're watching this at Zoom and we share something, put it so we kind of have those in Zoom. If you're watching this in Facebook, put it down below. And then those of you that are watching this in YouTube later on, we'll fill it out for you. We'll codify these notes and we'll either put a document in there or we'll share it. We don't need those notes. But before I add, I'll add mine when it's my turn. Todd, you're up.
I just love those, Jonathan, right? I mean, mindset. And that's really one of the reasons that I coach with Jonathan is because I just don't know any other coach in our space that's so mindset focused. And I felt like that has been always something over 20 years that's been missing. And so I'm super grateful for that. And of course, I'm all about, habits and standards. I feel like if we're not intentional around our habits and standards and our time, then we're not going to be able to do all of the other things. And so if I'm going to piggyback onto Jonathan's 3, I would say vision, first is you got to have a vision for not just your business, for your life, right? You really have to know like what kind of long-term, 5 to 10 years, where do you really want to be? Who do you want to be? What do you want that to look like? And I find that when we don't cast a really compelling vision for ourselves, if you're a team leader for your team, then it's really hard then to have the right mindset and to have the right habits and standards. So you really got to start thinking through, who is it that, for me, I was just go, who do I want to be? right? Because if I want to be world-class, like Jonathan coaches, then I've got to make sure that I'm really laser focused on that vision and what does that vision look like. And then I think you've got to kind of know your numbers, like what within that vision. If your vision is to be the #1 loan officer at Excalibur Mortgage and be a $50 million producer like Dave's was, I got no idea what a house cost back then, $30,000, and gas was 15 cents a gallon. I'm not sure, but ultimately, then you got to know your numbers, right? So what does that look like? Is that for you? You want to be a $25 million producer? Is that for you? You want to be a $100 million producer? And you've got to actually know, set the goal and then know your plan. Know the numbers you need to get there, right? I feel like it's great to say I want to be a $50 million producer, but I can promise you that Dave knew exactly how many families he had to serve in a year in order to be a $50 million producer. And I find that oftentimes when I talk to loan officers, they say, okay, I want to do 20 million. But I say, great, awesome. How many families will you have to serve to do 20 million? And that's, to me, basic math, right? If you know what if your average loan amount's 400,000, then you've got to serve 50 families, right? You've got to know the basic math on what the goal is. And then you also have to know what is the activity to get there, right? How many calls do I have to make, right? How many people do I have to talk to? How many meetings do I have to have? And right, Jonathan talked about what are those habits that you have to have in order to complete those activities. And then once you know vision, once you know what the business plan is, what your numbers are, then it's just a matter of what is it I've got to do today. So then I would say the last thing you have to do is you have to actually plan your day and review your day at the end of the day, right? You got to say, okay, this is what my action plan is going to be. These are my 3 most vital activities I've got to get done. These are the things that when I, put my head on my pillow tonight, that I'm going to be super glad that I know I accomplished these things. From a business perspective, and also look at it from a personal perspective, right? I mean, Jonathan, I love the fact that he told us to buckle up our seatbelts and make sure we give the A game to our family, because I do find that that's a challenge, right? I just spent the last 2 days at Disneyland, and it killed me. The one time yesterday, I was just there with my daughter. The whole family was there on Wednesday for my daughter's 21st birthday, and then just my daughter and I were there yesterday. And the one time I pulled out my phone just to check one thing, she's like, "Dad," like gave me that look, and I'm like, "Oh, all right, crushed." Right there. Okay, how do I turn this around and make sure I'm giving my A game the rest of the day? And so then that last part is really just plan and review. If you're not actually doing that on a daily basis, you got to not just plan to make sure you're doing it, but then you have to review and say, okay, what did I do the things I said I was going to do? What kind of the keep, start, stop, like what I do great, what did I do that sucked that I want to make sure I stop doing? Then what I want to start doing the next time, because that's really how you continue to grow. So I think if you take those 3 and you marry them with, Jonathan's 3, you're off to a good start. And then I know Dave's now going to come in and sharpen the heck out of us.
I don't know about that. I'm going to try not to expand the pillars and play within those pillars. By the way, Eddie, it's good seeing you in here. Thanks for jumping in and doing the notes on Facebook. Appreciate you, brother. So I'm gonna recommend one book on mindset, because I do think it's a mindset market. When I interviewed Shop Minosian, the #1 loan officer in America, he talked about mindset. He also talked about action. He said during that call, it was May, it was middle of May, and he's like, I've never had more in-person, face-to-face conversations and meetings with realtors in 1 year in my entire career. Now guys, it's middle of May, and he's had more face-to-face, in-person conversations with realtors, and it was May, than he's ever done in his whole year. So I'm like, okay, and he's doing masterminds, he's doing lunch masterminds, go back and listen to that call. But he said that. And then he recommended a book, The Gap in the Gain. In that, I literally, ordered it during, I am a multitasker. I could do it. I know it's called switching, but I ordered the book, both the hard copy and the audiobook, and I listened to it over the weekend. And it's a needle mover, guys. Like, I would really, I know I'm getting ahead and getting into tactics, but I just want to put an explanation on what Jonathan said, and give you guys a book that I would just push you to audiobook by Monday. Like, it's a 5-hour audiobook. There's just no reason that if you're in it to win and be your best, whatever that is, that you can't listen to this audiobook over the weekend. And then I'm going to tell you what I'm going to focus on for the entire month of July. I am focused on what I call speed to need training, and it would fit under habits and standards. And it's about advice. Like that interview last Friday with Jeremy Forcier was just epic. I would push everyone to watch this over. It's an hour. You can, if you want to get a link to it and make it easy, make sure that you are part of Savage Insights Mobile Club. If you're not already part of my mobile club, you're missing out. But all you got to do is go to 949-799-0837, and you can text anything. Just I'm in. Let me know who signed up today and that you're in. And then I am creating, well, not I, our team here at Trust Engine is creating a speed to need training playbook where you can really upgrade your standards and habits around how you give advice to consumers. And I do think, like, to be the best, to be your best, that's it, man. If you had the right mindset, and if you're actually delivering advice, not price, like stop delivering price, start delivering advice to every consumer, like you're gonna kick some major butt and elevate wherever you're at. So I'm not gonna throw more logs on the fire other than that. Todd, any knowing that I'm getting ready to go to the next chapter of this conversation, anything you want to say as a win by noon coach, like anything you want to wrap around this?
Well, you say go from price to advice. And I think one of the things that you've always said that I think really everyone needs to take to heart is that your advice matters, right? Dave says it all the time. And I think you underestimate it oftentimes as a loan officer, that you're a loan advisor, a mortgage advisor, and that you really are making a huge difference because of the fact that you're a student. You're here watching this, whether you're watching it live or on video. And I think that is really important. And I would say that the two calls that Dave just highlighted are amazing calls, right? When we interviewed Shant, the fact that he said in May he had more meetings than he's had in any year in his career, I mean, that motivated me personally. And I made a commitment at that point to up my game in the meetings that I was having as a result. And then the interview last Friday with Jeremy was really fire. If you're struggling on the conversations to be having with your clients, there is pure gold in there on things that you can do today with partners and clients, your team, that will make a difference. And if you haven't watched those, do it. And yeah, no, I think that was awesome, Dave. That's what I got.
Jonathan, anything you want to wrap up before we move on to the next chapter of this mastermind? Anything you want to wrap a bow around there?
Oh, there's a couple of key things I'll point out, which is, and it's old, it's been around for a long time, but success leaves clues. Success leaves clues. You want to emulate the leaders in your space, the people that are getting after it, whether you're talking Jeremy, whether you're talking Shant, Dave, Todd, like people that are innovating and executing and thriving. Again, we're not trying to jam you guys. You want to be number one. I would invite you to decide you're going to be the absolute best version of yourself. Mm-hmm. That, if you're a human being, hopefully you have a deep desire to do that. But in your industry, the playbook's being shown. That's the beauty of this platform that Dave's created. Like, here's the playbook. Here's the speed to need. We're going to document it. It's kind of like, okay, I want to win a Super Bowl. And it's like, okay. And they hand you the playbook. Like, if you do A to Z. So the mindset of taking action on the tools is key. And I'll just say, and I'm not violating my policy of not sharing clients, but Shant's been vocal with this. I'm blessed to coach Shant. And in our weekly 30-minute calls, we probably spend, I kid you not, 26, 28 minutes on mindset. I'm not sitting here trying to share tactics. The guy's a rock star. He already knows what he's doing, but I'm trying to make sure he's staying in a completely optimized state and focusing on his controllables. Because all the leaders in your space, there's a couple things. You can't change inventory. You can't change the rates. And any prolonged period you're spending mentally or verbally on that is a complete waste. And it robs you of execution, and it robs you of the vibe you want to create with these families you're blessed to serve or potentially going to serve, or these real estate professionals that you're going to serve or potentially going to serve. It is mindset, and it is realizing that there's so many things that you can control. And again, back to success leaves clues. The people that are thriving in any industry, not just mortgage, pro athletes, they control their controllables. That's a simple statement, but don't miss that. It's control your controllables. I just had a conversation with one of my PGA clients yesterday. Maybe we'll get into later in the call. We're getting more tactical, but that's one of the things I said to him. Let's stay laser focused on controlling your controllables.
All right. So first of all, we're a third of the way through this. There's a chapter in the book. We just finished chapter 1. Let us know what you think so far. Give us a little emoji. If you're watching this on any social media, the more likes we get, the more we know we're delivering value. So if you're watching this on Facebook Live, give us a little whatever you're feeling it, a like, a heart. And then if you're watching this on YouTube, let us know. Okay, chapter 2. Oh, by the way, I hope you guys heard that. He's coaching the #1 loan officer in the country. Like the more people that are getting coached by Jonathan around performance and mindset, the better, because I want to change how people get into debt in America. And I want to really help loan officers deliver financial freedom to the consumers they serve. And I want them to go back and, part of the First Home IQ mission is to go out and educate high school and college students. Like, let's get the next generation of America building wealth with real estate younger and faster. So mindset matters. Jonathan matters. Okay, chapter 2, Jonathan. No more than 3 to 5 specific strategies. You went really high level, but what are 3 to 5 Jonathan Roche strategies? And then we'll close out with 3 to 5 tactics from each of us on like do X, do Y. I've kind of already got ahead of myself on that, but what do you got, Jonathan?
I think the first thing is bookending your day for success. You've got to have a morning routine. You've got to have an end of workday routine that needs to be shorter. It's not going to happen. And then an evening routine. If you try to wing it and you don't have these 3 bookends, it's going to be challenging. And we won't get into, for time's sake, what does that look like? Some people it's meditate, some people it's prayer, some people it's exercise for the morning routine. But particularly, I believe the end of workday routine is a huge miss in most industries, including the mortgage industry. You can't just go from a call and then go out and vibe with your little cutie daughter or your spouse or your partner. Like, as human beings, we need some transition. So what is that? And so the bookend of the day is important. The second thing I'll point out from a tactical standpoint is world-class people embrace what I call the Power 75. The Power 75. And we're just going to do quick math on it. We have 168 hours a week. If we sleep 7 hours a night, that's 49 hours. So you take 168 minus 49, you're at 119. Let's round it up to 120. So we're at 120. And then if you're working 9 hours a day, 5 days a week, might be a little more, might be a little less. Let's just call it 45. 120 minus 45 is 75 hours. So we have 75 hours a week when we're not asleep and we're not working. And you can say, that sounds like voodoo math. It's not. If you look at the numbers, it's defendable. There's a ballpark 75 hours a week, and world-class people know how they're spending those 75 hours. And then, excuse the jab on this, but non-world-class people think they don't have time. We have so much time. It's scary how much time we have. But we need to own the time, as Todd was alluding to when he was talking about the pillar. If you ask world-class people how they spend their time, they know it. You could ask me how I spend my 45 hours, and I could literally go it down to probably about 90 minutes is untracked. That's not a mistake. So I think those are 2 really important, metrics right out of the gate on bookending your day for success. And then also the second one there on the Power 75. And then the third one, I'll just say tactically, is you got to know who your competitors are. I covered this at Mastermind. We won't go into all of them, but just your competitors, your #1 competitor is your negative voice, that inner critic we all have. And then your #2 competitor is your prior self. So all you want to be doing is thinking in terms of, am I becoming a better version than I was yesterday, last week, last month? And as long as you're doing that, and then you're dominating the podium of your mind, then by the time you get to what I call the 5th level is other mortgage professionals. Like, that's the 5th level. And when you think in terms of pro athletes, they're not worried about what I'm blessed. I coach 3 of the starting quarterbacks in the NFL. They're not worried about what the other quarterback's doing. Why would they can't, it's a non-controllable. Oh, it's not good. He's having a good game. That's all good. Good. In fact, the better your competitors are, the more it should sharpen you to elevate. But the reality is, as mortgage professionals, you want to pay attention to your competitors. So those are my 3 quick ones. Bookend your day for success, control and really leverage the power 75, and then know your competitors. And then back on top of those pillars initially, right? Which is mindset, and then habits, and then standards.
Wow. This is like an awesome call. I can't wait to create an article and some LinkedIn post out of this. First of all, keep the note. Well, some people are helping with the notes. Some people aren't. I would just ask y'all to, ask questions and help with the notes if you don't mind. Todd, anything you want to, call out there, or, what are your 3 to 5 strategies? I know he stole at least one of them. Booking your day is like a win by noon bookmark.
No, he didn't steal anything. We're going to sharpen each other. And, I continue to feel blessed that you and I, Dave, are coached along with #1 loan officer in America and 3 starting quarterbacks in the NFL by Jonathan. I always knew that there was a lot of value in what you provide for me. And I love to hear that you're providing it for others at such a high level. I think, let me, I guess I'm probably more tactical still. So I'm going to kind of get a little bit ahead of ourselves. But, I think what Jonathan said there is masterful. So one of the things you always need to do is go back and listen to what Jonathan said after we get done with this call, right? I mean, if you're watching this on Facebook, you can see the video in there, and then it'll be up on the Trust Engine Mortgage Coach YouTube channel shortly. And I think it's really, really critical you think about those things. We've always heard about bookending our day, right? It used to be always have a great morning routine. And then someone's like, well, you can't have a great morning routine unless you have a great evening routine. And when Jonathan challenged me, last year sometime to really be focused on, well, what is my end of the day routine? And I'm like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And, I always knew I had to unplug and disengage, right? When I was doing loans and I was, hot on the phone, coming in with a realtor or a client, solving some kind of problem. As I, came home, was really that whole mental mind shift. And so think about that. And what I would say is you need to have that. We're going to bookend our first half of the year, right? So I want you all to bookend the first half of the year. I want you right next Friday is that day, right? So Saturday, a week from tomorrow is the 1st of July. We're in the second half of the year. So really, I want you to do a deep dive on how did you do in the first half of the year? And Dave kind of already alluded to it. No one's having the best year that they've had. And not only is it from a production perspective, it's from a mindset perspective, but really look at what did you do, right? I mean, you have to dig in, and, it's kind of when Jonathan says you're competing with your negative voice, but he said you're competing with who you were yesterday. And so I want you to be competing with who you were the first half of this year. And so that you can really be laser focused on the goals for the second half of the year. I think that's the most important thing that you can do right now. And so that you can come really out of the gate and kind of go back to that strategy I said of knowing your numbers, because if you know your numbers, you know the goal, then you know exactly what you need to do each day to get there. And just that, that little whole thing of, you eat an elephant one bite at a time. It's just really just one day at a time. Don't be overwhelmed. Hey, I'm not going to get $10 million of loans in the first week of July. However, you can take the activities on July. Well, I don't know if anyone's going to work on July 3rd. It's a Monday, but let's pretend you're going to start working on July 5th, whatever that is for you. But if that's the day you're going to choose to work, then, make sure that you're coming in there and you're saying, okay, if the second half of the year is a $10 million second half of the year, what is it that you've got to do strategically in order to get there? And the last thing that I'll say was kind of interesting. I was on 2 Zoom calls with, ironically, mainly realtors this morning. One was a Darren Hardy group. So I see, Jonathan's wearing his Be the Exception shirt. I've got a Darren Hardy leadership group. It's led by a realtor. And then there's business entrepreneurs from all over the country and Canada. And then I was on with a group of real estate leaders that I meet with once a week, half dozen folks. And it was interesting because the realtor on the call who leads the Darren Hardy call, he said, well, I actually get the most business I get is the week before Christmas, because that everyone assumes it's such a bad week, but that's really when no one else is working and I own it. And so maybe July 3rd, maybe that's your day to own it. Now, certainly don't take away from your family. Jonathan said we're not giving our family our B game, but if your family is not all off and relaxed, then maybe that's a great opportunity for you.
Yeah, this is so good. All right, so I'm going to drill down strategically. I'm only going to give 2 strategies, but one of them is I'll let Jonathan provide the leadership on what to do within that power 75. But I want to really drill down into that. And I think the way Jonathan did it, it was like 45 hours in a week. And I just want to say, like, what if you only work 40 hours a week? And what are you doing within that 40 hours? Like, I can assure you that Shant Benosian is very clear on how much of that time within the work that he's doing that he's going to be meeting with a realtor. He's either going to be doing things to get these meetings, and in his case, he's built out a large team and an infrastructure, and he's leading his team. He's building systems, and he's having meetings to make sure those systems are being implemented so that he is meeting with realtors. But if you don't have a big team like Jonathan, what are you doing to get meetings, and what are you doing to have meetings? What's the number of hours at your goal? And I would just push everyone for the next week to audit yourself and, one, keep track of how many hours you're working. So that's like, time it. It's been how much, and I didn't say borrowers, because I think if you are getting meetings with realtors and you're having meetings with realtors or referral partners, like if you focus on CPA as a financial planner, whatever it is, time getting them, time having them. And if you expand that time and you expand that focus and you make sure that you're achieving your goals, you're going to be the best at something. You're going to be your best. So that's strategy number one. Keep track of hours worked and how much of that time was getting or having meetings with your primary referral partners. And then number two, because I'm only going to have two, is I want you to think about the time you spend with a borrower, and God, there's not a lot of refis going on. So it's primarily TBD pre-approvals. And I want you to track how much of the talk time you have, like when you're talking, you're giving advice versus transactional dialogue. And here's, here's what I know. I know for sure that people that are the best, they're not having transactional conversations. Hey, here's your rate, here's your payment, here's your cash to close. Now, that is part of the talk, but I just want you to know that's transactional. But they're like giving advice, like they're providing actual advice that's getting people into escrows. Again, when you watch that interview I did with Jeremy, which hopefully all y'all are going to do, all this was how he's giving advice. And I just want you to, and here's the deal. If you're not delivering this type of information to a consumer, you're not delivering advice. And by the way, if you're using your own homemade spreadsheet or some, less than best way of doing it, and I'm not selling here. I mean, it's just a fact. A mortgage coach total cost analysis is the highest valuable, most efficient way to deliver advice to a consumer. But I want you to track that. So I want you to track two things. The amount of time that you're getting meetings, having meetings with your primary referral partners, and the amount of time in a conversation with a buyer that you're giving them advice that actually helps them make a better decision and helps them achieve financial freedom. Like, those are my two strategies. Todd, anything you want before we go on to our last chapter, because we got 20 minutes left, but any win by noon bows you want to wrap around this?
Well, I mean, you're talking about understanding what you're doing in that 40 hours. And certainly you called out the one that's probably most important for people right now, which is meeting with referral partners, followed by the second one you talked about, which was client conversations, right? That's the whole, both of those are relationship building with the two most important relationships you have, those referring you business and those you're doing business with. And we all know that there are other pieces that fill in there. And so if you want to, check out any of that, you can just go over to the Win by Noon mastermind group. We've got in there, kind of the ideal week that I've designed out there just in the file section, or you can just email me, Todd@winbynoon.com, and I'll send it to you. But I mean, we know what that 40 hours should look like. And then obviously, Dave, you talked about it. I mean, if you do those most important activities first by noon, then you're more likely then to be able to deal with all the other things that get thrown at you. Because really, we all know it. The pushback that I get is, oh, well, but I'm just so busy. I got, my deals are falling apart, or people are just calling me at random times. Well, you can be certainly intentional around that to make sure that you get those most important priorities done, the business building things that you need to do done, so that you can do the other things that we all have to do as loan officers. You have to, be taking applications. You have to be talking to clients. You have to be doing these other things if you don't have a team. But that's okay. Most of that stuff can wait if you're really crystal clear on the things that Dave talked about that you need to make sure you get done every day.
So Jonathan, before you answer it, I want to remind everybody that, first of all, the Win by Noon Facebook group is badass. This is a place for people to execute and operate, and Win by Noon, live. So if you're not already in this community, get into this Facebook group. And then this Monday, the 26th, Deborah, Todd are having, it's dedicated to following up on Scriptapalooza with Phil Jones. So if you have not signed up for this event, there's a link to do that right here. Highly, highly recommend that if you want to be the best and do everything that we're talking about here, get into that community. Jonathan, any thoughts you have, wrap a bow around this from a performance leadership perspective, and then we'll close out with, just giving ideas and strategies and tactics.
I'm going to add one more strategy. I'm going to keep it tight at 90 seconds. This may be your difference maker as you guys head, towards finishing off the evolving market Ironman, which is be an effort-based coach of yourself versus a results-based coach of yourself. All the greatest coaches in history, whether you're talking John Wooden, Saban at Alabama, Belichick at the Patriots, Dabo Swinney at Clemson, they're effort-based coaches. Know your role, nail your role. And a lot of you have gotten dragged through the mud for 18 months in this evolving market because your negative voice wants to be a results-based coach. So be an effort-based coach. Real quick, I'll keep it to about 45 seconds. My pro athlete clients, they send me a text after they have a game, or the PGA guys, and they report their peak game score. It's 4 things. It's not how many points they scored or what they shot in the round. It's 4 things. Number 1, did you give world-class effort? It's a 0 or 1. There's no 0.5. It's either a 0 or 1. You either got it or you didn't. Okay, world-class effort. Number 2, were you a world-class teammate? And it's either 0 or 1. Like, you have your teammates' backs or you don't. Are you on the bench? Like, awesome, Dave, keep working, it's good. Or if Dave comes off and he's having trouble. Number 3, did you represent yourself, your family, your organization, and if you're a person of faith, God, at a world-class level? And what that looks like, if you're an NBA player and you run over a cameraman, if you're going to nail number 3, then you do a quick drive-by with eye contact. You tap him on the shoulder and you say, hey, sorry about that. I want to make sure you're good. He goes, oh, I'm good. And you go, okay, awesome. That is leadership. And then number 4, did you dominate the podium of your mind? And all I do is wake up in the morning. I just want to see a bunch of 4s. I don't go, oh my gosh, how many points did he score? How many touchdowns or whatever? Nope. I kid you not. You can say, I bet you don't. I do. I don't look at any of that. Did they earn their peak score of 4? That's an effort-based coach. So I just want to throw that last tactic, because again, our negative voice is a results-based coach. Our positive voice is an effort-based coach. When we nail the effort, I'm not saying you have to replicate what I just went through, you guys, but when you do those 4 things, you get to sleep easy. You just do. It's like, what else are you supposed to do?
Dude, this call is crazy. I can't wait to write the article that we're going to write in my LinkedIn profile. I will get a Google Doc to you guys sometime next week, and we will create an article around this that one will just remind you guys. I do hope you're taking notes and you're not waiting for that. Take action on this. You should have your own article written, and if you think there's value in this, you should watch this again. And remember, authorship is ownership. Even if when I create content, I don't do it to do it for you. I do it to help amplify you and to help remind you. So I hope you're taking notes. I hope you're going to put some of the ideas you're hearing today in action. We are now in the 4th quarter. We got 15 minutes left. We're going to rapid fire specific tactics, specific to-dos that you should do immediately. And I already know what I'm going to say, although who knows, after I hear these 2, I might, add or subtract something. But Jonathan, let's try to keep it under 3. If there were 3 very specific tactics that people should do this weekend, people should do next week, what are no more than 3 things coming from you?
I think number 1 is avoid the news. Avoid watching the news. And you could go, no, I need to know what's going on. I know, read it. 5 minutes a day, consume whatever you trust to absorb what's going on. With
you don't need to know what's going on, guys. Like let's cut out the news for a week. Let's do a 1 week news cleanse and no news for a week.
I meant as far as the industry. No, I agree. I don't know what's going on with anything. Like you could, that's weird. I know what's going on with how I want to show up for my clients, and most importantly for Karen and our kids. That's it. And if I really need to know something about what's going on in the world, someone will tell me about it. So the news is toxic. It drags us down. The second thing is sweat is rocket fuel. You can't be who you deserve to be unless you're sweating and you're getting endorphins and dopamine flowing, those happiness chemicals in your body. You have to do it. Forget about weight loss, forget about health, vibe. We're all 10 times better versions of ourselves post-workout than pre-workout. That's why when we tell our spouse that we're going to work out, they're like, oh, cool. Because they're like, oh, cool. Happy Jonathan's come back, or Dave or Todd or whatever. The bottom line is exercise is a difference maker. And the third thing is gratitude. The two best strategies to fend off stress are gratitude and sweat. You can't think your way out of a rut. You got to take action to get out of the rut. So we got to crank up our gratitude. Gratitude and stress are inversely related. Be intentional about your gratitude, including within your bookends, and then make sure to sweat. And I think when you do those, and then you not only avoid the news, but consume positive content, motivational videos, things that lift you up, things that inspire you, you're starting to create these tools and strategies around that systematize your vibe, which you could be like, what are we, robots? This is what pro athletes do. This is what I do for them. We want to systematize the ability to replicate creating a certain energy, vibe, and thought pattern. They don't go, oh, what am I going to do today? It's like, bow, bow, bow. Does that make sense, you guys?
Makes lots of sense. I loved your 3, man. That was powerful. Todd, no more than 3. What do you got?
I think do a quick, Jonathan's were awesome. I always hate following Jonathan. And especially the fact that I love the previous part, the 4 things at the end of the day. Like I want everyone to score a 4. So I guess let me start off with this is, let's go down the path of who are you hanging out with, right? Who are the people that are help building you up outside of your family, right? You can certainly count, like I count my wife, Tara, as, one of those people, right? They all say you're the sum of the 5 people you hang around with, but really from a work perspective right now, and who you are perspective and who you're trying to be perspective. I mean, who are you really hanging out with? You're hanging around world-class people who are lifting you up and who are holding you accountable, right? I mean, part of the reason that you need great friends is they can call you out on your shit. I don't swear very often. But I think you need people that are actually going to hold you accountable in this market, because it's really hard to hold yourself accountable. So I would be looking at that. Number 2 is I think it's a matter of scoring yourself every day. Like Jonathan said, he's got the best of the best out there. They're getting paid millions of dollars to go out there and play for a few hours. And they're training to get there, right? Really be scoring yourself every day. And so today, when you get to the end of the day, I want you to score yourself. Look at Jonathan's 4 ideas and score yourself on that, or maybe there's something different you want to score yourself on. But be looking at it every day. I already said earlier, I think you got to plan and review every day, and I think that just add on what Jonathan did. I mean, that's like the cherry on top for me. I'm going to start doing that and looking at scoring a 4 as many days as I humanly can. So that is 2. Let me think if I've got a great third one. I think the third one is what's the content, right? Really make a content list for yourself. I mean, Dave's already mentioned some great videos. He's already mentioned a great book. Jonathan's got his awesome book over his shoulder there. The one that he wrote last year and the one that's coming out this year. I mean, look at the books that you can read, listen to what are the podcasts that you can listen to that will fuel you. I think if you're not really we already said we're going to avoid the news, but then now we got to figure out what's the positive content that you're going to put in there that's going to help you be better, help you grow, help you be grateful, all the things that we've been talking about on this call.
All right. So all pure gold ideas. I do want people at this point, you should have already documented and written down, if you're watching this video, put it on pause. What are you either going to be at the best of, or what is that big goal? Is it a dollar volume? Is it a best of blank? Something that if you achieve it, your financial goals are made. And most importantly of all, you're proud of yourself. You're like, I'm proud. So hopefully you've got that documented. And then I'm going to want you to, I'm going to create a playbook of everything that we shared here when we make this article. But what are you going to do? personalize this, customize this for yourself. Now, my tactics I'm going to push you guys for is a couple breadcrumbs to really execute on the advice strategy that I had. So first of all, I've been like, when I interviewed Jeremy, I asked him like, hey, what are your 6 top strategies that you're using to win in this market? And what I want everybody to do is document at least 3. Like what are the 3 strategies that you know, based on your market, based off your model, you know, like if you're consumer direct, it's going to be different. If you're in a really hot market where there's a lot of bidding wars, and by the way, there's a lot of markets where bidding wars are a thing again, to win a house, you can have different strategies. And if you're in a market where no, bidding wars aren't a thing and we're getting seller concessions, you know, it's gonna be different. If your model is, you know, more than 50% of my consumers are first-time home buyers, it's going to be different. If you know, are in a market where, you know, most of my loans are FHA, it's going to be different. If you're in a coastal market and all of your loans are jumbo, you're going to have 3 different strategies. But what are the 3 most important strategies that will help make you more valuable for realtors and will help you grow your business? And then you're going to train. You're going to train on those. You're going to list those. You're going to train on those. And remember, part of the training is the homework assignment I gave you. It's like create your own speed to need training playbook. And then my third is going to be the way you get really good at something is you master it and then you train other people. You either hold other people accountable, or, you know, if you're a branch manager, you're doing what we're talking about, and then you're going and you're doing a branch managers meeting and you're doing some type of training. So write down the list, do the work, train, and then lead. Take what you're doing and amplify that within your branch, amplify that within your region. And here's what I know. If you take that advice that he said, that don't worry about the results, like focus on your activities, the things you can control, I think some good stuff is going to come out of what we've done today. So guys, first of all, does anybody want to pile on another tactic, or do you feel like we baked the cake and now we can just close out with you know, some leadership around this? Any other ideas either one of you want to throw out?
Todd, go ahead first, buddy.
Well, I was going to let Jonathan go first. You know, I don't know that there's more ideas that we need. I
don't
just
think we need more ideas. Personally.
I think what you said, I love that what you said, Dave. What are you going to be the best of, right? You know, I was asked on this realtor call, you know, kind of what drives me, and I said my goal is to help people reach their potential, whatever they believe it to be. And I know you've got potential that's probably higher than how you feel like you're achieving right now. And I know if you go back and you watch through, I think that's really where you know, where Jonathan's advice is really priceless, is the mindset piece of it. I know that you can get there. So I would just remind you that you know who you want to be, and we just want to help you get there.
Sweet. Jonathan, closing thoughts, and obviously feel free to add another idea or just close out with your lead. Pretend that you're a coach of everyone on this call. You've heard the content of this call. By the way, I guess it's not pretending, because right now they're listening to you. You are the coach of everyone on this call. But close it out, you know, how you would wrap up a meeting like this.
Yeah, I'm going to give one more tool and strategy, which I know you go, no, we've had.
No, we're good. Do what you want.
I'll keep it simple. It's four answers, 2 questions. You're going to answer each personally and professionally. This is my favorite thing to ask anyone I'm blessed to coach, including very much so a professional athlete who I'm just earning the opportunity to serve. Here it is. What is your potential actualized score from 0 to 100? Your potential actualized score. How much of your potential have you actualized from 0 to 100? Personally, you're gonna answer it, then professionally. So I'm 51. Okay, 51 years. Sum it up. How much? And then the second question actually is more important, which is, what is your potential actualized effort score? You're going to rate the effort from 0 to 100% of how much you're working to actualize your potential, both personally and professionally. Those 4 scores are game changers, particularly for A players that aren't getting a ton of external resistance. Because you look, and my big thing is I coach on the second answers. What's your effort? We want, if I guide you correctly, we get those scores to 100, and then that's going to play out on the field or on the course or in the marketplace. So those 4 are really important. What's your potential actualized score? And then what is your potential actualized effort score? And as you're getting out of this call, metrics matter. A lot of people think when they start coaching with me, probably Dave and Todd include, oh, Jonathan's super positive and he's rah-rah and everything. Like I said at the beginning of this call, if you want motivation, go to YouTube. I keep people accountable. We have a scoring system. We track it. There's no wiggle room because data, you can't hide from, can't hide from the data. It's either telling you you're moving in the right direction or you're not. And so the key is to get in the right mindset to take action on all these tools and strategies, whether we're talking Jeremy, whether we're talking Sean, Dave, Todd, me, anyone. Everything starts with your mindset. We win internally, and then we're able to execute and win externally.
So Todd, before you close it out, win by noon style, I just want to remind everyone, this webinar is super important. Like I could just assure you, I already know that Phil Jones is going to do something kind of unique. Every single person that attends this will be able to be on camera and collaborate. So this is going to be like guys, this guy, I think, Todd, isn't his speaking fee like $50,000 or more a day? What's his speaking fee nowadays?
50K.
50K. And the book, Exactly What to Say, has sold over 2.2 million copies. And Jonathan, when it comes to selling over 2.2 million copies, and it's a business book, how uncommon is that? Like, it's pretty crazy, right?
It's crazy, yes.
So I mean, it's one of the most sought after professional books. It's probably, I don't know sales books that have sold more. And you're going to have an interactive session for 2 hours with Todd, Deborah, and this guy. So like, make sure you sign up for this, everyone. Those are my closing Todd's. I'll let you wrap it up, brother.
Well, one thing I'll add is that we're using Phil's Zoom, and it's a meeting, not a webinar. So like Dave said, you're going to be cameras on, and there's only 500 spots. And I promise you, me, Phil, Dave, Deborah, that's 4 of them. So there's 496 spots. And last I saw, we had 522 people signed up, and that was before we did our last email push on it. So the bottom line is there's not everyone who wants to get on is going to get on. So I would just, I want you all to be there. I've got a big financial planning group I coach. I normally have a coaching call with them at that time. They're all coming. So I just know it's going to be a packed house. So show up, stay engaged. It's really only gonna be 90 minutes. Deborah's graphic is wrong, but that's all right. Super stoked for that.
I bet it goes more than 90 minutes, by the way. I'd time block 2 hours, everybody.
It could, you're right, because Scripted was 3 hours.
I know the 3 of you guys. It's gonna go over. Come on.
You know what? I can't wait. I think it's gonna be a gift. I'm probably as excited as all the rest of you are about the timing, and I've been trading texts with Phil and Deborah about it. And I already kind of gave my advice. You have to go back and rewatch this call. Because I think the bottom line is that between all the pillars, the strategies, the tactics that we gave, that they're all applicable to you. You just have to now prioritize them. And I think the biggest thing that I'm gonna again go back and just rate myself on my effort every day. Every day is not going to be perfect, but I know from a results perspective, but I know if my effort is everything that it needs to be, everything that it should be, that I'm going to win. The whole goal really for all of us, I mean, we do this because we care about you. We want you to have a bigger future than you see for yourself. And I would just pick the one thing that resonated with you the most and take action on that this week. And then I would take the next thing that resonates with you, and then I would take action on that next week, and just really figure out what it is that you need to do in order to make sure that the second half of this year is truly the best ever. I mean, Jonathan just said it, what have we actualized our potential? I definitely want to say that I probably didn't actualize my potential in the first half of this year at a high enough level. And my goal is that when Jonathan asks me that question in December for the second half of the year, that I can say, absolutely, I gave it my all. So I want you all to do that. And Jonathan, how do you want to tie it up? I know we're right at the time. You probably got to jump on a coaching call, but any last words from you, sir?
I'll just say a couple of things real quick. Any of you that want to reach out about coaching, I have an online coaching. I coach teams. I coach 5 different mortgage teams on mindset or a monthly Zoom. You can go to peaklockin.com, and click on coaching. I'm going to finish off with guidance. My favorite question in the world to ask someone is, what's the most important thing you've learned in your life and who taught it to you? And so if you ask me that question, I'd say Dory Roche, my late mom. I only had 12 years with her. And here was her guidance. Treat everyone as if they already are who they have the potential to be, including yourself. So that's my final coaching nudge to you, which is maybe you don't see her or him yet, but if you're breathing, you already are her or him. And you go, well, no, I'm not showing it. No, we're not talking about whether you're showing it. Your DNA is world-class, brilliant, kind, resourceful, athletic, on fire, the best version of yourself. He's in there. Our role, the 3 of us today, was to coach you, to guide you, to nudge you, to give you tools and strategies to start peeling off the layers. Because I believe this with every fiber of my being, and this, I'll stop after this. None of us need to change. We all just deserve to reveal who we already are.
So guys, can't emphasize enough that coaching and what Jonathan brings to the table with performance leadership is huge. You know, we put a link in chat. You know, if you're thinking about coaching, and even if you have a coach, like what Jonathan brings is incremental. This is not like, oh, I got a coach and I got to leave my coach. No, this is peak performance coaching, you know, mindset, fitness, health. He does coach a lot of badasses in the mortgage space. So he can really bring you some great mortgage tactics, but this is about mindset, health, and just being your best self. So check that out. That is my closing thought. I hope you got value from this. If you have not already subscribed to both of our YouTube channels, Mortgage Coach, best practices for mortgage advisors. We turn loan officers into mortgage advisors. So that, if you want to be an innovative leader, our Trust Engine YouTube channel is for innovators. You know, I interview people outside the industry, executive level content. Make sure that you're in both the Mortgage Coach, Trust Engine Facebook group, the Win by Noon Facebook group, and hope you got value today. Gentlemen, killer call, man. Appreciate you both.
Awesome.
This is a wrap. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Great seeing you.